Anyway, are you doing all right?
Chugging along as best as I can be. I'll show you how bad it is. I don't know if you can see that just there. I've got a pillow on the back of my chair
Yeah.
because this is the first time I've sat in this chair since speaking to you because I've been off work because of the pain that I've actually been in. And I've had to put a pillow here just so I can prop me back up because the pain that I've got in my back and going around my side is horrible. And this is the
Uh,
first time I've sat in my chair for that long. And
I'm
I'm back at work on Wednesday.
I'm kind of mildly smirking, not because you're in pain, but because 3 weeks ago I was in the emergency room for 10 hours, and then I woke up on the Monday morning with a hole in my abdomen, and I'm now peeing into a bag. So this is my first podcast in 3 weeks. So I'm sort of chuckling and smirking, not because you're in pain, but I think we're both wrecked, to be honest. So that's why I said to
yeah,
you when you were like, when we're podcasting, I'm like, can we just make it an hour? Because I
yeah.
think we need to ease
I,
ourselves back into it. But
I think it's once you get beyond the age of 40, that's when
yeah,
just everything disintegrates. Because I turn 45 in a few weeks' time. So I'm mid 40s in a couple of weeks' time. The annoying thing about that is not the fact that I'm in constant pain, it's just because now the box that I tick when you fill in forms is the next box down rather than the one that I've
yeah,
been ticking.
yeah,
And
you're
so
welcome.
you're further getting closer towards that 60 plus box, and then that's it. You have no more boxes to tick beyond that
For,
one. And
for those that listen to the audio podcast, if you go back to episode 788, which I recorded last week, a solo one, I go into full details about what my past 3 weeks has been like, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty, to be fair. So I started off by saying, if you're here for movie recommendations, just leave because there ain't any. You're gonna hear
yeah,
like a graphic tale of pain, blood, and surgeons
and
and all
more
that sort
pain.
of stuff, and more pain. Yeah, I'm back in the hospital tomorrow because they're going to pump my body full of purple dye to light it up to see what's going on, so they can then.
Right.
But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
peeing in a bag at the minute. Great,
I am.
it's amazing.
I am still waiting to hear back from the hospital after I was there in January in regards to the pains that I'm getting in my stomachs and sides, and because of my heightened blood pressure. I had tests done then, and I'm still waiting to hear back from them in regards to the results from January. So nearly 9 months ago.
That is insane, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
insane.
So at least, well, probably we're getting through some movies though. I guess that's
Oh,
all I've done for the past 3 weeks is just watch. I got unfortunately and also fortunately I got a pile of screener discs sent through. So on one hand, I'm really not in the headspace to go, oh, movies. Oh, I love movies. I want to watch movies. But also I was able to, because I was bedridden for like the first 2 weeks, is just watch lots of films. So
yeah.
it's like the only positive. So yeah, this is the first podcast with a co-host for like probably about a month, I think. But here we are. So
I feel special then in that case.
you're my therapy, one of my therapy people. So,
I
so
would
yeah,
demand a refund. And
yeah. I'm I'm demanding a refund in life. I think it's
yeah,
horrendous.
trust me, you're not going to get one because
I've
I've
been
been
pl-
on that bus for quite a while. So
I've been playing some video games this morning. I treated myself finally because the price dropped to Gran Turismo 7 for the PS5. I'm crap at
uh-huh.
racing games. I'm really not good at racing games, but I'm quite enjoying this one. I've not yet put the VR headset on and tested it out with VR, but I'm doing the flat screen thing and I'm improving. I'm getting there, but yeah, racing games are not my strong point. But it's a good game. I'm enjoying that.
Yeah, I really don't deal very well with racing games, just like yourself. I think for me, it is just if you have one of the fun sort of like over the top ones, like the Mario Karts and the stuff like that. That's my kind of video game racing stuff. For me, it's platformers adventures because I'm currently playing the new Hollow Knight Silk Song, the game that brought down Steam for an hour, and the Nintendo Switch store didn't work for over an hour and a half, and PlayStation had to delay the release of the game by 2 hours so people could actually download it because it crashed a lot of stores.
That's
So
bad, isn't it? When that it's like, do you know? I mean, I don't know if it's ever been a case of when a game comes out, it works perfectly at launch. But nowadays, it seems to be, you're just waiting for the patches and stuff, aren't you?
But the way they handled it, Team Cherry, which is a small little Australian developer, is They didn't do pre-orders for the game. They
Okay.
didn't release the game to reviewers or anything like that because they knew the hype would actually sell it, which it did. So yeah, because everybody was anticipating this game. It's been sort of like anticipated since 2019. So everybody was anticipating it. They knew it was going to sell. And for an indie game as well, it only released at £16.99 or $20, which is nothing when it comes to video games these days. And annoyingly, a couple of independent developers have turned around and says what Team Cherry have done is a bad thing for the industry by releasing the game at $16.99 because we can't afford to release our games at that price because we won't get the sales. And because they've got backing behind it, they'll get the sales. Well, one, Team Cherry is a very small team in Australia. They're a team of no more than 10. And two, they can release the game at how much they want. They just build up the hype from their previous game. It's not stopping you from releasing your game at $20 or £20, signing with a company like an Ubisoft or a Microsoft or a Sony or something like that to release your game. So I just don't. They were just, I think, jealousy. A jealousy that's all it is. So yeah, my game playing is currently at the moment Hollow Knight Silksong.
Yeah, I've only just got back into putting the PlayStation on because and I'm not going to keep bleating on about medical stuff because it's like, it kind of depresses you after a while, doesn't it? You're like, for the love of God, just talk about movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't played any video games for a while, but I thought I'm going to finally treat myself to Turismo 7. So I've been playing a bit of that. I've watched a whole bunch of stuff. TV wise, I finished season 1 of Dexter Resurrection on Paramount Plus, which I really enjoyed that series. It's
Mm-hmm.
really good. I think if there is a downside to the Dexter show, it's that somebody going into the show brand new will not know which flipping order to watch it in because obviously you got
That would be
Dexter,
me.
which ran for a whole bunch of years and then finished, and then you had Dexter New Blood, which was the next one, run for 1 season, and then Original Sin, which was the prequel, which was also pretty good, and then now you've got Dexter Resurrection. So it's a bit like what? I don't know. It's a weird titling system. It's fine if you've kept up to date, but if somebody like recommends, oh, Stu, there's this show called Dexter that you've never seen, you're like, oh, which order do I watch it in? So I'd be a bit.
I know. I obviously know of Dexter. I've seen the first episode of the first season, but like with most TV programs, I might get the first episode watched and then just completely ignore the rest.
You've been too
And
busy watching Winnie the Pooh universe movies, aren't you? So,
yeah, but good thing is there isn't one of them this month.
okay.
There are a couple out there, but
Yeah.
it's just trying to get hold of them is the hardest task now these days. Despite the fact that a lot of them are actually British made. They're
Yeah.
made by ITN Distributions, which is a UK-based company, and so there is a couple which is really difficult to actually grab my hands on at the moment, including I Heart Willie, which I know that title,
It
which I
does.
still actually do want to see, and there is still a couple of more to come. Pinocchio Unstrung has been pushed into 2026 now, so is the Pooniverse United. That's
Yeah.
being pushed into 2026 because that was supposed to come out this year, but it's 2026 now. So there is still a few there for me to watch, but none this month.
That's got to feel weird for you. You've none to watch this month. It's just like,
I
hang
know.
on, what's going on?
I've still seen quite a bit this month though, but nothing in regards to the twisted childhood universe in any way, shape, or form.
No. I've probably only watched about 5 or 6 films this month because it's like, well, enough said, but I'm just like, I've been not in the mood to watch stuff. I did watch because Second Sight Films have got this box set of the Pusher trilogy, the Nicholas Winding Refn films
Hmm.
coming out. I think it's like the 15th of September or something. And I got sent the screener discs through for those. And I looked at them, I'm like, oh God, that's out next week. And it's a first world problem when you look at a free film that you've been sent, you're like, oh, I need to watch this. So for God's sake, I'm not up to it. But you watch it and then you discover it's actually a really good film. So I powered through the Pusher trilogy like in 3 days. I don't know if it's a series of films you've seen or not.
I have, yeah, I've seen it. It was the
Um,
first. The first, obviously, one was the one that brought me attention to Eric Bana. Obviously, he became Hulk. So yeah, I have. They are brutal films, but it's very typical Australian
well, no,
movies
these
that.
these are these are the these are Danish. I think you're thinking Chopper.
That's it. Yes, I'm thinking Chopper.
Pusher is the Danish one, where it was 1996 is the first one. Nicholas Winding Refn, who obviously we know from Drive and Neon Demon and stuff like that now, but he was like in his mid-20s or something, and he makes this first movie in '96. So it's after like Bad Lieutenant and King of New York and all these sort of grimy gangster films. And it's just basically about a guy who's a drug pusher, and he makes a deal and it goes wrong, and then he owes money. So he's got to try and do another deal to pay this money off, and that goes wrong, and his day just turns to crap. Really good film, a little bit dated because obviously it's '96 and was probably made on like a 50 grand budget or something. But I really, really enjoyed it. I'm like, okay, let's see what the second one's like. The second one is starring Mads Mikkelsen. So this is like
Mm-hmm.
before his entrance into Hollywood and Bond and stuff like that. And it's a similar sort of template, but not identical. Also a good film. And then the third one focuses on another character that's been in one and two, who was the drug kingpin who owes some money and then things go wrong. And it's just like, basically does not glorify being a drug baron in any way, shape, or form. Third one's super violent. There's a scene in it where somebody's got to dispose of a body, and it's like, seriously, you don't need to just go that far with it. I don't need to see that crap in my life. But a solid trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. And the Blu-ray set itself has got like commentaries on it. There's making ofs, there's interviews, there's like extra movies. So I think some films that inspired Refn to do the Pusher films, they're on there. So God knows how many hours worth are on this Pusher trilogy box set. It's a good series of films. It's one of those, and I'm sure, I don't know if you do it, but you put a film on going, let's get this out of the way. And then by the end of it, you're like, damn, that was a really good film. Why have I not watched that previously? So
Rare that
it's
actually
a
happens
treat.
for me. My luck is that I go, oh, I've seen the box art or something like that. It's another cheesy horror film. I'll put that on, and by the end of it, I'll
Yeah.
think, why the hell did I do that? That's normally the case for me.
Yeah. Yeah. We have people in the chat as well, so hi to everybody who's currently in the chat. So hello.
Yeah,
I
we're,
won't read all your names out, but thank you for being here. I've got a cat
we're
that's
not.
meowing around. So
My cat has gone back to sleep. He's had some food and he's gone back to sleep. So
my cat has just come in out of the rain and feels the need to just run around my leg. So it's like, thanks, cat. So
yeah,
there's
cheers.
that. But yeah, the Pusher trilogy kept me quiet for 3 days. I am trying to think what else. There's a lot of big films that I really want to watch that I've got. I've got Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which I have not watched, and I really want to watch it, but I'm just not in the headspace. We're going to sit down for like 3 hours and just watch a film. Can't get off the keyboard, thank you. I got it. It's sitting on the space bar. So yeah, what have you watched? I'm sure you've probably watched more than I have, and I will try and catch up with the things that
I
I've seen.
think it's in the region of around about 15, 16
Wow, so majority of this episode
films,
will be you then.
including a TV series as well.
Nice.
So delving back into the TV series, which I'll actually mention now. No surprise, Alien Earth.
I haven't
Because
seen any of that yet because it fell in the wrong time period for me to to be able to sit down and watch TV. But thoughts?
yeah, you know how eager I was to actually see this based on the trailer, and you know how much of a fan of the Alien franchise I am. Where both me and you are defenders of Alien 3, despite the fact that Alien 3 gets an absolute lashing. But I
I
actually
like
do
Alien
like
3.
Alien
Yeah.
3. Alien Resurrection is definitely worth a watch if you're after a bit of interest. And it's not the best, but it's not the worst in the franchise for me anyway. So Alien Covenant is the
Which
worst.
I was going to say which is the worst. Yeah, I probably would go.
Covenant.
I can appreciate Covenant each time I watch it. I kind of I dislike it a little bit less, but yeah, it's not my favorite one. So.
The thing with Covenant is he was trying to have his cake and eat it too. He was trying to make it feel like Prometheus meets Alien, and it
Yeah.
didn't even get the tone of both. So that's my problem with Covenant. So Alien Earth is very sort of like similar to the Alien franchise that you have seen. Noah Hawley is the director and sort of like creator of it. The first episode feels like it is just a TV episode of an Alien film. However, it diverts away from that in episodes 2, 3, and 4. It goes more into exploring the synths more than it does sort of like the aliens, even though the xenomorph does appear in episode 2. In episodes 3 and 4, it is more about the synths. Again, not to spoil anything in regards to it, but the way they've gone and done the synths is different to the way you've seen it in the Alien franchise. So it feels like he's trying to take the word xenomorph and not heavily involve it in regards to the one that we know to be the xenomorph in the Alien franchise, looking at other alien species and the synths and sort of like thinking we're going to use the dictionary definition term of a xeno or a xenomorph or something like that. Somebody who's an alien, deemed as an alien, rather than the one that we know. Episode 5 goes back to the feel of an alien film, so it does definitely feel like it is a cut down version of an alien movie. Episode 5, so 1 and 5 does tangles with that. 2, 3, and 4 more in regards to the drama, in regards to synths. There's stuff about it that I like. There's stuff about it that I don't like. I don't like unfortunately, I don't like the exploration in regards to the synths. It just takes away from the series too much. 1 episode, maybe, not 3. The stuff that I do like is, again, episodes 1 and 5, the ones that encapsulates what an alien film is actually like, the tension, the feel, the claustrophobic nature of it. Even some of the action set pieces from maybe's Aliens and Alien 3 and little bits of Alien Resurrection as well. The style of it is very, very akin to Alien and Aliens, so it's got that spot on. There are problems with the xenomorphs themselves. They're a little bit too heavily CGI'd, in my opinion, rather than a human in a costume, which surprisingly does actually still work these days. The human in the costume in the Alien franchise, and so yeah, it's a bit hit and miss, slightly more hits than misses. And there's 8 episodes in the series, so there's only 3 weeks left. So by the time it comes to the end of September, the whole entire thing will be on Disney Plus or Stars over here. So I'm guessing you'll probably end off watching it all once it comes out.
I was going to ask that actually, because I've not seen any of the 5 episodes yet, and 6 will obviously drop on Wednesday. Do you think it's probably a better show to binge watch? Going, right, this week I'm just going to watch like an episode of Aliens each night and do it.
At this point, yes. I would, considering that you're very, very close to the end, and there's a cat's tail.
Yeah.
You're very, very close to the end of it. I would just wait. It's only a couple of weeks that you have to wait. You've probably got, as you said, with you being incapacitated, you've got a lot of stuff there to watch. So you've easily got enough to watch to fill the gap up until all episodes are available on Stars / Disney Plus, which, by the way, next year it will just be Disney Plus because they're getting rid of the Stars / Hulu side of things, and it's just going to be one big thing. So I would just wait until all episodes are out.
Yeah, because it's only like, or at least wait until the week of the 8th episode and then start on the Monday, and then by the time I get to the 8th episode, the thingy will have dropped on. But
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I've got a whole ton of stuff to catch up. How's your backlog for films? Because I know you tend to watch like more, and we're going to touch upon it in this episode. But you watched a film that you'd seen before or had come out in a different year. I remember you Skying that. But how's your backlog? Yes. Do you manage to keep up, or do you struggle?
Yeah. It's one of the reasons why in October I have that binge month. So films that I'll have not seen that I sort of like do want to see, but haven't had the chance to go and see it in that year. So, for example, F1. I've still not seen F1. So I'll use October as that month to go, oh, well, I'll watch it. Despite the fact that October is a deluge of horror films, I'll still obviously go off and watch horror films. But it sort of like settles down a tiny little bit in October. So I think October is a good month for me to just go in the back catalogue, just have a quick little look, back catalogue, meaning for me, released in 2025 in this case here, and just watch a couple of films. So F1, Pixar's last film, Elio, which I've still not seen. I'll probably end up watching that in October, and then a couple of other films, and then I'll just watch the rest of the horror films that I need to or want to watch.
Got loads. I haven't seen Fantastic Four. I haven't seen Mission Impossible. I haven't seen Nobody 2, which crazily enough has just dropped onto digital 18 days after it hit theaters. Crazy. Yep. Studios, what are you doing?
That's because Nobody 2 was released in America about a month and a half before it was released over here. So, yeah. Which I have seen Nobody 2.
Yeah. I like the first one. So you know what? If the second one's just like Bob Odenkirk beating people up, I'm good. That's kind of all I need from Nobody Two.
I haven't seen the first one.
Really? Okay. What did you think of the
Yeah,
second one then? How did you end up
well,
watching two if you hadn't seen one?
it was just because I had the time to. I had
Right.
the time. That's the plus point about having one of those unlimited passes at the cinema as well. And my cinema has just had a £4 million renovation done to it. So it went from being like crap, my cinema, to being so nice. Like all seats are reclining seats. It's got sofa beds. It's got these screens called the Avenue, which the Avenue, it has two screens which look out on one on the Mac screen, which is their iMac screen, and one looking out on one of the screens. And then one of the Avenue boxes has its own private screen in it.
Wow. Okay.
Um, so it's done. Tickets are quite expensive though for that screen. It's 17.95 per person in that
Yeah.
screen. But if it's something that you really want to see in comfort with no more than another 12 people in the room with you, then by all means, because the
Yeah.
good thing about it is they do not let children in it. It's 18 plus only, and there's a specific bar and food just for that area alone. And you can get it brought into you, so you get a way to bring in food into you as well if you want food and drink. So it's nice and private. But yeah, my cinema has gone from rags to major riches, and it does a unlimited card of 14.99 a month. And so I've just been abusing that unlimited card, watching films. I probably would wait for it to come out on digital to go and actually see. I've actually gone to the cinema to see them. So
Why not? If you've got the
um,
time, you know.
yeah, and just nobody, the original nobody, just passed us by because it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
And so I just thought, you know what, I'll watch Nobody 2, directed by Timo Giargento, who he's done a episode of the VHS franchise, the second one, which is involved in the cult. He did an episode in the first one as well, and both his sections of the VHS franchise has been fantastic. He's a director who sort of like does balls to the wall insanity.
Okay.
That's what he's known
Which I know
as.
you like.
Uh,
That's your type of movie.
yeah, completely gonzo kind of stuff. Action wise, he doesn't sort of like blend very well into the action franchise. If you've seen the first Nobody, you know what to expect in Nobody 2. It is just big, massive action set pieces. As you mentioned, Bob Odenkirk is the father of this family. In this case here, he just wants to go on vacation. But an incident that happens inside of a sort of like an old school arcade where his daughter gets smacked across the head, just as somebody who's passing by who thinks he's the big cheese of this small little town. He just walks by and just taps her on the back of the head, and that instantly sets off Odenkirk, and he ends off
Yep.
spiraling into a huge, massive snowball of hell.
That's what he
Sharon Stone
wants.
plays Sharon Stone plays the lead bad guy in the movie. If you can think of over the top, cheesy villain played by Sharon Stone, you know what to expect from it. Completely misses the mark. Feels like she's taken from a 1950s cartoon rather than being a malevolent, nasty bad guy. But the overall feel of the film is it's complete brain dead popcorn fodder. If that's what you're after, then you'll be fine with it. If you're after something with any kind of depth, then no. It's like the first paddling pool you were ever put in as a child. It's that deep. It just doesn't exist.
Sounds like it's right up the same alley as the first film, which I thought was great. It was just like John Wick without the European flashy style. It was just like, great fight scenes on buses and Bob Odenkirk just going full on meltdown and punching people, which sometimes we need to watch films like that.
Yeah, it's John Wick with a lobotomy. It's probably the
Exactly.
best way.
I'm all good.
Don't
So
put that on a
that's
poster though.
no. So that's pretty high up on my list to watch because it's an easy one to just stare at. I think for me, I'm not going to be watching anything too mentally in depth for a
Yeah.
few weeks anyway. So there's that. What else you watched?
I watched a possession horror film called It Feeds, which there's too many possession horror films. I know last month we had the argument with somebody who thought they were a smart ass and put a comment on your Facebook timeline in regards to clowns.
Yeah.
They should actually have a little look at the possession genre because they release them every single week, pretty much more so than they do with the Twisted Childhood Universe films. But It Feeds is actually one of the better ones.
Okay.
It does have the tension there. It has has enough there for you to be able to actually latch onto the characters, for you to actually feel their plight. It does enough differences in it to make it feel like it's its own film. So surprisingly, it actually is worth a watch. It feeds. So I do recommend that. One I definitely do recommend is Hallow Road. It was a British thriller that was released earlier on this year. It's directed by Babak Anvri, who did Under the Shadow. Babak Anvri is a British director. Under the Shadow is a fantastic film. It's on Netflix. I think it's still on Netflix anyway. But Hallow Road is a very simple premise. It follows husband and wife played by Rosamund Pike and Matthew Rhys. They get a phone call from their daughter, who's played by Megan McDonnell, who says she's been involved in an accident, and the whole film pretty much is set in their car, in Rosamund Pike's and Matthew Rhys's car, about them driving to where their daughter is to try and help her in regards to this accident. That's it. That's the premise of the film. So it's just tense. If you're sort of like, if you've seen those kind of films in the past where it is just set in a car, like for example, Lock, you know what to expect.
I really like Lock. That's my type of movie, though.
Well, you will really, really like Hallow Road because it has a lot of tension to it. The performances are fantastic. It adds quite a few twists and turns to it, despite the fact that it is predominantly set in just a car. So I really do recommend Hallow Road. It's a very, very, very good thriller slash horror. Got a couple of little horror elements to it, but it's a British thriller that's on for 90 minutes. Never feels like it's sort of like over the top with its runtime. It is tense. And it's one of those kind of films that you want to know what happens next.
Okay. I should check that out.
So
we got
Kyler
in the chat's asking to join for a minute, please. Not quite sure what join for a minute, please. If it's to join the call, then no. However, if you've got a question, dump it in the chat. Could you imagine if you just let people join in the call? The things your eyes would probably see.
The manic nature. The manic nature.
Kyler, if you've got a question, drop it in the chat and I will try and pick it up. So we mentioned our killer clowns overused in movies that we did chop out. We did it as part of a longer podcast, but I also isolated it as a shorter video, so that's on there. The answer is no, they aren't overused. The film we reference, Halloween, is out in the US on digital, comes out in the UK on the 29th of September. I had a fun 40-odd minute chat with the writer-director of Halloween, Phil Clayton, who also did Lesbian Vampire Killers many, many years ago. And that was kind of like my first foray back into podcasting, because I'd asked him to do an interview conversation thing before I was ill. And then he came back, he's like, yeah, you free tomorrow? I'm like, oh God, I need to be free tomorrow. But it all went well. Phil's a super nice guy. We had a blast just chatting about all sorts, indie films, killer clowns, Jaws, vampire killers, all sorts.
Yeah. Which is nice.
Oh, right. Okay. Nice. So Kyler says he's getting dissed by these guys. Fuck us all. We're not dissing you, Kyler. We're just saying that we don't really want to get into the habit of inviting people we don't know into our live stream chats because we're having a conversation. So yeah. So there we go. I think he just might be. No, don't even know you, Kyler. So we're not saying you're weirdo. We're just saying that we don't invite anybody into our calls. So it's not you. It's just in general. It would derail our entire conversation.
Which it has.
Which it has. So yeah. So yes. What else have you watched?
I'll throw out a few small ones because I've only seen like 5 little ones, which I can easily just get out of the way with before I go back onto the last couple of the big ones, including that film that I said that I've seen for the first time in cinemas on the big screen, which is so the quick ones is, do you know of the film from the 1980s called The Mutilator?
I do. I think I've seen it. I think I have many. I can picture the weird like clip art type font for the title. So I think I have seen it, but if you ask me what it's about, can't remember.
You don't need to know because it is just a typical serial killer movie. It's a stalk and slash kind of movie. Did you know there's a sequel?
No. Is it called The Mutilator 2?
It is indeed, and it dropped on Amazon Prime a couple of weeks ago with absolutely zero fanfare. So it is, because I remember when I saw the box art, I thought, I'm sure I know about the Mutilator. And when I read the description, I looked at did the IMDb search and things like that, and just checked when this one came out. It was only just released this year. I'm thinking, I'm sure it did have a sequel, but it never had a sequel. This is actually the sequel itself. So the film, The Mutilator, came out in the 80s. So the gap between when the film released and the sequel coming out is pretty much my age. So the Mutilator 2 is just one of those ones where it homages Mutilator, and it is brings together all the actors who are actually in that one as sort of like going to a party because a sequel is being shot. So it's a meta kind of film. So a sequel is being shot of the Mutilator, and the Mutilator himself from the original film has come back to kill people.
Wow.
Some of the actors who are in the sequel and some of the actors who are in the original one. It is the budget is minute, is very minuscule. You can definitely tell in the quality of it that the budget is just tiny. And it has no ending. It literally just ends. It doesn't have a website to go to, or it wraps up the storyline, or to say that, oh, by the way, let's do it where the serial killer lives, or anything like that. It has no ending. It literally just stops. And I thought,
Okay.
there's something wrong with my internet connection or something.
Yeah, my Prime's cracked out. Get onto Amazon and blast them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if you know what to expect from the original Mutilator film, you'll know what to expect with Mutilator 2. Budget is pretty much the same as the Mutilator from the 80s. The special effects and acting and kills and all that kind of stuff is exactly like the Mutilator film from the 80s. So if you expecting that kind of stuff, well done. You get it again in the sequel. If you're expecting just a tiny little bit more, switch it off.
Do you think in like 20 years you're going to get the Mutilator 3?
Well, it's going to be in 35 years or something like that, because that's the gaps between the Mutilator films. So I'm probably going to be in literally in a wheelchair or an old people's home by the time that comes out, and Amazon Prime might not even exist.
You will still be watching manky old horror films when you're in an old folks' home in a wheelchair.
Oh yeah,
with a blanket over your legs. Yeah.
People will avoid me in the old people's home. And then a few to throw out. One film that I said I was eager to see, House on Eden, found footage film about a couple of people who find this abandoned house and malevolent things happen into it. Two of them are actual TikTok stars in real life rather than in the film. The film's rubbish. Unfortunately, it is just absolute garbage. It follows the same kind of blueprints as all of these found footage films, doesn't do anything with it at all, but forgets the scares.
Whoops.
Which is pointless. Don't Feed the Children, which is Destry Allen Spielberg's new film, Steven Spielberg's daughter. Okay. It is currently on Tubi. It is set when this disease is wiped through the country itself, but the government decides to blame children for it because children seem to be the one that's least affected. So children have to go on hiding, and it's a group of children who, after an incident that happens at a petrol station, goes on the run. They stumble across this house, which they think at first is abandoned, but in fact, somebody actually lives in there. This person decides to take them in, but she has different ideas on what to do with the children. The premise is fine. The acting is okay. The whole film itself is just plodding. It just plods along because it does not know how to get the tone correct, whether it wants to be sinister, whether it wants to be playful, whether it wants to be violent. It has this twist in it, which is very similar to the kind of twist that you've seen in Barbarian, the Zach Cregger film, but it doesn't land it. Like it trips itself up on its idea. So unfortunately, as a directorial debut, there is enough in it to make you interested in what she will do next. But as a sort of like an idea of a film, it just doesn't gel very well, which I was hoping that it would, but unfortunately it doesn't. So I'll keep an eye out on what she does next. But it's just not a very good start. The other thing I want to quickly mention is Tubi. Either have a subscription service where you pay like $2.99 or $3.99 without ads, or stop with the amount of fecking ads that you have in your films.
I take it Tubi are because do they do probably do ads in the middle of the films? I'm guessing, partway through the films.
it feels like you've gone back to watching films on TV from the 1980s on ITV, but worse. They have ads like every 15 minutes, every 15, 20 minutes. And
It's like
the
American
word,
TV, isn't it? America. I remember the first time I went to the
yeah,
US, I'm like, you've literally had ads and you've not even had the credit sequence at the beginning yet.
the worst thing is it had 3 minutes of ads, 10 minutes from the end of the film.
No, no.
Amazon Prime have done that as well. I watched a film also on Netflix today, and I was sort of like patting Netflix on the back for the amount of ads that they show in their films, being very minimal. 3 lots of ads in a film that I watched today on Netflix, which is a lot. Considering that they're not like 20-second ads, the chunks are like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, Primes needs to stop it with the amount of ads they do. They do a lot. But Tubi, Christ, they do so much, and having ads 10 minutes before the end of the film, like it wasn't like 10 minutes from the full end of the film and then the credits. It's 10 minutes directly from the end of the film, including the credits.
Right.
So it was like 4 minutes from the end of the proper film itself before the credits decide to roll. That's when they decide to have 3 minutes of ads.
I
So
mean,
Tubi,
that's more likely to make me just ditch the platform than it is to sign up for the
uh-huh.
ad-free platform.
Well, it's
I'll
a
just
hard,
ditch them.
if even if they charge like 2.99, like just a small little fee for without ads, I'll gladly pay the 2.99, because 2.99 is these days is nothing. You can get very little for 2.99 these days. But yeah, if anybody from Tubi is listening or listens back to this show, cut the amount of ads that you've got on your films, or release a subscription service where you only pay a small amount to get them ads disappeared, because it takes you completely out of a film, despite the quality of the film.
Despite it,
Um,
maybe in some ways it's a nice little breather from whatever terrible film you happen to be sitting watching, though.
True, but still, you should be able to watch your terrible films all in one go.
Yeah, you should
And
you
then
should not get your terrible films interrupted by ads. Not at all.
which leads perfectly into the worst film I've seen this month, Monster Tapes, which is on Prime, which is a 42-minute film that feels like it's on for an hour and a half.
Ooh.
It's about two girls who decide to debunk the myth of this monster in a forest after somebody goes missing. It's woefully awful. Really, really awful. I don't know if you've seen or you've heard of these knockoff superhero films. Like superhero movie gets released, there is a knockoff version of it. For example, when The Incredible Hulk got released, and you'll probably laugh at this, there was a knockoff version of it called The Incredible Bulk. And instead of Hulk
Okay.
being green, in that film, he was purple. And the special effects of it felt like it came from somebody who's just getting into creating special effects in junior school. So that was pretty much the same with Monster Tapes. Woeful, woeful special effects, horrendous acting, terrible pacing, dialogue which is just akin to the kind of stuff that a 2-year-old would read in a spot book. It's abysmal beyond abysmal.
But I bet you got to the end of it though. I bet you saw the end credits.
42 minutes. It didn't even have end credits. The credits were actually on
No.
at the start. It was one of those kind of films where the credits are at the start of the film. Very few of them do that these days. But I think you know what kind of quality of a movie you're going to expect if you get the credits at the start of the film now.
Yeah.
You know that the film itself is not going to be very good.
It's like
So
years ago.
Monster
I used to make sure I finished a film because it's like video
yeah.
store days you would pay for them. So it's like I've paid for this like £2 or £2.50 or whatever. I'm going to finish it. Nowadays, when it comes to streaming, if I know it's terrible, I will happily just go. I'm out.
No, I'll still stick by
Yeah,
you. I'll
yeah. I
still
don't.
stick by
Life's
you.
too short. Life's too many films to watch. I'm out. I'm done.
I know it is, but when it comes to films, I'm nice. No matter how bad your film is, I'll rip your film apart
Yeah, but at
if I
least you
think
watch
it's
it
a
all.
terrible film.
You watch it all, but
Yeah.
you'll just gives you. And that's the thing, isn't it? You can't properly review a film if you have not fully finished it. I guess so. There's
That's actually a
that.
good question.
So
I know, sidetrack there. Do we buy many new releases or just watch streaming?
I buy them still, and yeah, I've watched two this week or in the past couple of weeks that, and I talked about this with Phil Claydon when we were chatting Killer Clowns and Halloweens and stuff. Is I miss the days of the video stores of going in, browsing, spending however long it was to pick a title, going home with that title, really hoping it's a good title, especially if it's like not a major A-list film or whatever. And usually I would pick decent gems. But even if I didn't, I would still kind of enjoy it a little bit more because I've paid for it. I
Hmm.
think with streaming, I think there's a danger of just putting a film on, and I've just said that I sometimes do it as well. Putting a film on, going, that sucks, I'm going to watch something else. Oh, that sucks, I'm going to watch something else. And then you spend like 4 hours in your evening just watching the first 10 minutes of about a dozen films. Um, and so I've started going on Prime Video and just going, do you know what? This film's like £3, £4 to rent. It looks good. The cast looks fine. I'm just going to watch it. And for the past few times that I've don't do it a lot, but I'll do it maybe 2, 3 times a month. The past few films that I've watched, I've enjoyed more because I've taken the time to go, right, I'm going to throw £4 at this thing. Um, Hi, Abel in the chat. Good to see you up and around. I used to work with Abel. He's salt of the earth. I love that guy. Um, is The Undertaker, starring Paul McGann, Tara Fitzgerald, which is a British gangster film from like a year or two ago. And it reminded me of The Craze from the 90s. It had that sort of,
Hmm.
the gangsters were all wearing suits and they were all well spoken, but they would still kill you if you obviously upset them. It wasn't like a Rise of the Foot Soldier, cocaine and Range Rovers type gangster movie, which to be honest, I'm kind of sick of those. It felt more
I got sick of
classic
them way,
gangster.
way, way before you did. I
Yeah,
got
I
tired.
persist with those, but they're not great. But I just keep watching them out of sheer habit. So The Undertaker I enjoyed. The other one I watched was called Body Snatch, where it says on the cover, and we've all fallen into this one from the creator of Final Destination. So you're like,
Yeah.
which creator? Because there's been loads of them. And one of the executive producers is a guy called Jeffrey Reddick, who wrote the first Final Destination, and he's a producer, an executive producer on this Body Snatch, and it's a low budget cheesy sci-fi thing that's like an alien's attacking other people and the bodies get snatched, and it's super cheesy, but I had a blast watching it. And I remember when I was watching the film going, this is the sort of stuff that I would have gone into the video store in the 80s and 90s, taken home and just got, that was awesome, this is my favorite film this month. It's not my favorite film this month, but it just reminded me of those video store days. I don't know if I'd have just clicked on it on streaming if I'd have finished watching the film. So
See
I,
that
I do
there's
like to still buy them or at least rent them digitally. If I'm going to keep them, then I'll buy them because there's a big pile of DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff there. But
there's me sort of like I grew up in the same era as yourself. I used to be the love it when the guy used to come round in with his car and had tons of videotapes in the back of his car. He used to be able to rent them very similar to the Pop Man. They used to pretty much come around on the same day, and so that day, that time of the week used to always be probably one of the best times. And used to rent a couple of films off him. He was one of the only places as well where I could get Betamax movies because he used to be able to transfer them over to Betamax as well because I had both a VHS and a Betamax player. And so being able to rent them from them, going to the video store as well and being able to rent them from that, popping into Global and Blockbusters. Nobody in America would know what Global is. It was sort of like the competitor to Blockbusters here in the UK. And so having the subscription to both them, picking up any kind of film, but as you've said, because the streaming services around now, there are so many different streaming services around now. It's so much more easy and convenient to be able to actually watch a film on those streaming services. And if you're in the mindset that you do not own that film,
yeah,
even if you purchase the film digitally, you don't own the rights to that film because if Amazon takes it out of their catalog, that film could be gone from you, even if you spent £16. I don't buy them that way. If I do want to buy a film, I will still buy it physically. If it is just for me to watch something, the convenience of being able to put Prime or Netflix, Disney Plus cranked up or Tubi, Shudder, etc. I will just. It's easier for me to be able to watch the film, read the description, watch it based on that description itself, rather than going to the local HMV or our price back in the day as well, reading the back of the box, going, "Oh, that sounds good," spending £10 on it, taking it home and watching it, going, "That was a big pile of crap." So at least I'm saving money from that
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah.
But
It's like,
yeah,
as
it's
Ron
just
said in the chat, it's like sort of paying money for a film is a commitment as well, which I like that. I
it
think
is.
committing to something. It's like if I went into a shop and bought a Blu-ray for like 10, £15 or even more, because unfortunately some of the collector sets are quite expensive. Get home, put the film on, and I'm not into it in 10, 15 minutes. I'm not going to eject it, throw it in the corner, and not finish watching it. Damn right, I'm going to finish watching that film because I've paid for it and I've committed to buying it. And usually I'll end up enjoying the film. You just got to choose
What
wisely, I think.
what I would find interesting is I know that physical releases still affect small little independent films. They obviously can release them in small bulks, and they are really ecstatic when that small set of the amount of films that they've got actually sells out. With big, huge, massive studios like the Disneys, the 20th Century Foxes, which is part of Disney now, big, huge, massive studios, I really don't think they care anymore with physical releases. For example, Disney stopping selling DVDs, releasing their films on DVDs in places like Australia, only releasing them on Blu-ray and 4K. So I really don't think that they care these days about physical releases. They're more interested on what their streaming platform is actually doing, the amount of people who are actually watching their streaming platforms, because those big studios do have their own streaming platforms to release on. And so I think they only care about those numbers. So physical releases these days, they just really don't care. As long as there's independent studios out there, small little studios, small releases, there will still be physical because they do still sell and they do well for them. It's a good way for people to actually see their film. But the big studios, they just don't care anymore.
Well, I was chatting to Phil Claydon earlier this week, and we were chatting about DVDs and Blu-rays. And Halloween is coming out on Blu-ray in October in the UK, not in the US. I don't know if it's a region-free Blu-ray, but he was telling me that he'd recorded in like a bulk of sessions the DVD commentary or the Blu-ray commentary for the film. He said he didn't do it in a one-er, but he did it in pieces and stuff. And it's like, for me, I'm a massive fan of DVD commentaries. I love them. That would, if I see a disc that's got a commentary on it, I'm more likely to buy it than if there wasn't one, just because that's my preference. I'll happily sit
Mm-hmm.
and work my way through those. Um, yeah, Abel in the chat was talking about he bought the Godfather 50th anniversary set. That was a
Yep.
thing of beauty. That one, I really wanted that, but it was like, triple figures. So
As long as there's people, as long as there's appetite out there, I think it's dependent on your age range. If you were a child of I would say anything from the mid to early 90s or anything lower down from that, so going into the 80s, 70s, 60s, etc. If you are a child of that, you will still buy physical.
yeah,
The only time it will change is if the current generation of people, so I would say anybody born in the late 90s into the early 90s, etc.,
mm,
the only time it will change is if we get a boom very similar to what's happened with vinyl. Because vinyl seems to have that gap of where it stops and then there's a gap and then people stop buying it again. Don't know if physical actually do that with DVD and Blu-ray, but you just never know because you can't tell what people's tastes are going to actually be like.
no.
So if it does that, then it'll still be around for a little while longer. But because of the fact that streaming platforms, a brand new one pops up every month now,
There's
pretty
just too many
much.
of them. Too many of them.
Yeah.
I have a few. Well, I have a couple that are tied into my Sky offer. So Paramount and Netflix. I don't have Amazon Prime. I don't have Shudder. I don't have Apple. I tend to sort of wait until I see one of these special offers for like 3, 4 months for £2, and then I jump on that, watch all the content that I need to, and then just get the hell out once the price goes back up. I just can't afford to have all these. I don't see the point in having like 6 or 7 streaming platforms when I'm still going to be watching the same amount of movies each week, and I'm going to end up neglecting some of these platforms. So, and I'm still never running out of things to watch. So it's not going
Yeah.
to happen.
Yeah, definitely. But it's what it's like being a movie fan, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um,
So what was
and
this
then
film that you'd watched? So there was a film you'd never seen on the big screen. I suspect, is it Jaws?
no.
Oh, okay,
Um,
right.
Before I get onto that, because I do have a couple of more films to throw into the big ones, I will get onto that other one itself. One quick hit is a film called Ick.
Well,
Um,
that sounds pleasant.
it got Brandon Routh in it, one of the Supermans who's not done an absolute insanity in America, and it's got Mina Savari in it. And Ick is very much like the Faculty. meets detention, meets sort of like a high school alien kind of thing. There's this thing that it's never explained where it's come from called the ick, which is this thing which is infected across the world, but people have decided to live with it. However, it becomes more sentient and it decides to try and take over the human race. And it's just about Brandon Redd's character, who plays a science teacher, trying to actually rescue his supposed daughter and his ex-wife, played by Mina Savari. And it is one of those comedy horror kind of things. It tries, like I said, it tries to be very similar to things like The Faculty and Detention. This is actually from the director of Detention. It unfortunately misses the mark. It's those kind of films. You need to make sure you get them spot on. You need to get the humor spot on. You need to get the horror spot on. It doesn't fully get both of them spot on, unfortunately. It's worth a watch. It's forgettable.
But it's pretty much an ick.
Yep. So that film in question.
Just a quick one. Ron's missus says nobody buys DVDs anymore. People do buy DVDs and buy Blu-rays, unfortunately, just not as many people as they're used to. But there's still a few people like me out there that buys them now and again. But there's not many shops that sell them, though.
Head to charity shops. You get them for like 10 pence these days, and you might find a couple of diamonds in the rough.
Charity shops. So head to charity shops. CEX, which is a good, like a second-hand store here in the UK, which is pretty good. You just, pay attention to the prices, because some of the prices on some titles are like, that's not worth that much. But
exactly,
you still buy them, just not as many. So yeah, what film is it that you've never seen on the big screen that you have that isn't Jaws?
Alien.
Ooh, nice.
Because I'll get onto The Conjuring Last Rites, because I had a double bill on Friday. I went to see The Conjuring The Last Rite, which my cinema was sold out. Like, that film is easily going to be number one with a bullet when the charts get released tomorrow, despite the fact the film itself is not very good. But again, I'll get onto that in a couple of seconds.
Brand name though, isn't it?
And so by the time The Conjuring finished, there was I was contemplating whether to go and see Alien, because Alien was on as well. And there was a gap of like 45 minutes from when The Conjuring finished to when Alien started. And I went, you know what? Screw it. I've never seen Alien on the big screen. The first Alien film that I actually saw on the big screen was Alien Resurrection. Really? Because I was too young to get in to see Alien 3, because it came out in 92. Mm-hmm. I was definitely too young to see Aliens, and I wasn't even born when Alien came out. So Alien Resurrection came out in 97. But I was able to actually go in to see it because I knew the manager of the cinema at the time, the ABC in Sunderland. So I thought, you know what, screw it. I'll go and see Alien on the big screen, because I've never seen it on the big screen, and it's one of my favorite films of all time. It still holds up today. It definitely, despite the fact that you do notice the shoddy nature of a lot of the stuff. You can see that, for example, the blue lasers that was given to them by the who was actually playing in the studio next door to them, and they lent them the Ridley Scott, the lasers itself. You can sort of like understand why the little thing that comes out of the xenomorph's mouth that was actually used with KY jelly, and the lips of the alien was actually condoms. You can sort of like see those kind of little things when you know these facts, but and all of these models that was actually created, they got a lot of them from previous films from that studio itself, but just modified them. So you can see those little tiny little things, but that still doesn't stop that film being so brilliant.
Every time I watch Alien, I am just gobsmacked about how amazing it still looks in the 21st century. And it came out in 79, and it wasn't a massive budget film. I'm sure it wasn't tiny, but it was
5 million.
5 million. So, Star Wars was like 10, wasn't it? Which was a few years before that. But it holds up. It's easily one of the best films ever. Did you feel on the big screen, because obviously you've seen it on smaller screens, and it's a great film, but Alien is one of those films that it's like you're watching a different film when you see it on the big screen. It's like Jaws or the first Jurassic Park is another one. When you watch it on the big screen and compare it to a smaller screen or a big telly, you get a whole bigger atmosphere on a cinema screen with something like Alien.
I think the tension is more there on the big screen. I think the novelty is there more on the small screen, considering the first time I watched Alien was on a big, huge, massive CRT TV with the dodgy lines across it and all that kind of stuff, the distortion in the picture. But that adds a little bit more to the film. I'm one of those kind of people who never got put off by it. I love those kind of film grains and all that kind of stuff in a movie. Because I appreciate it when films, for example, still get shot on 15mm these days. It's very few and far between. Mark Jenkins is a huge, massive. He loves shooting films on 15mm, which he's got a new film coming out in a couple of months' time, which I can't wait. He did Bait, which Bait is a brilliant film. But yeah, the sort of like this Alien, it didn't have any of that. Like it was a restoration copy of the film itself. It was in pristine condition. When the 20th Century Fox logo came up, you got the very old 20th Century Fox logo from the 70s and 80s, which I absolutely loved, including the distorted sound, which I love. And I was thinking, oh yes, I'm going to get this distorted version, but it was a cleaner version of it, which is fine because it still didn't take anything from it. It was the director's cut of Alien as well, rather than the original cut of the film. But again, that film still holds up. A little fascinating fact for people: the budget for the first 4 Alien films comes out at 155 million. The budget for Alien Earth, the TV series, for 8 episodes is 250 million.
Of course it does, yeah.
So you did have enough budget to make Prometheus as well than you did to make Alien Earth. But yeah, if this show Aliens, because I'm not seeing Aliens on the big screen, I will go and see Aliens on the big screen as well.
Alien, I saw on a reissue a bunch of years ago. Aliens, I've seen. The weird thing about watching Aliens on the big screen is because it was shot in a different ratio.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's how they show it at the cinema. So you've got to get used to the bits being missing down the side. Alien 3, I saw when it was released. I'm a huge fan of Alien 3. Alien Resurrection, I also saw. Prometheus, I saw. Covenant, I didn't. And I've never been to the cinema to watch an Alien versus Predator movie. So, they're more
I saw, well, I saw Requiem, Alien versus Predator 2, Requiem on DVD because it didn't get a theatrical release over here, or if it did, it was very limited. I've seen Alien versus Predator on the big screen, saw Resurrection, saw Covenant, saw Prometheus, saw Romulus. It's just that I've not seen the first 3. Well, I've seen the first one now. I've not seen 2 or 3.
One is great. There's very few films that I could watch weekly, and I think Alien would probably be one that I would happily just sit and watch. I just think it's a gorgeous looking film. And I'm curious to know what people think nowadays if they watch it. You take like somebody who's like 15, 16. I think they would be bored. I think they'd be like, nothing happens in it. But I love the atmosphere building of the first Alien.
Because it takes just over an hour for the alien to be seen. The first scene involving the xenomorph is not in the film until just over an hour. And another little fascinating fact: Weyland-Yutani is never mentioned in the film.
No, it's later on, isn't it? It's number 2, isn't it? I think.
It's mentioned by name in the second one. You can only see it twice in the entirety of Alien. It's on the monitor, one of the monitors when they're actually checking the statistics, and it's on the beer cans in Alien. They're just known as the Corporation in Alien. So
such a good movie, love it.
And then last 2 films, I've seen the new Toxic Avenger film. The one where Peter Dinklage plays the Toxic Avenger. The film itself was finished a few years ago. It just could not get a distributor. And then Legendary Pictures actually just stepped in and just went, you know what, we'll distribute for you. It's a trauma film. If you know what to expect from a trauma film, you're getting exactly that. It's just, it's one of the first trauma films ever to be shown on the big screen because the Toxic Avenger didn't get a theatrical release over here in the UK. It was straight to VHS. It's very much like that. It just takes exactly what the Toxic Avenger was like. Not the sequels. The sequels were more tongue-in-cheek, too childish in a way, and just is exactly like that on the big screen. The one thing I will say, a huge, massive pat on the back for the distributors, etc., for the Toxic Avenger. Every penny that they used, they were going to use on marketing, they're actually donated to charity.
I've seen this mentioned in a few posts because it's up into the millions now, isn't it? That they've managed to donate. Is it like paying off medical bills for people or something? Isn't it? Something to do with that, yeah.
Yeah, and that is one brilliant thing to do. So well done for them on that. But yeah, it's fine. If again, it's a trauma film. You're not going to get Romeo and Juliet, despite the fact that they did do Romeo and Juliet. But yeah, it's a trauma film. So that's the best way to look at it. And then the final one, The Conjuring: Last Rites, which is the fourth and final film featuring the Warrens. That
Is it
people
the
know,
final one though? Is it? If it makes money, it's not going to be the final one.
not giving anything away. Yes/no.
Okay.
I'll just say that. Yes
Right.
slash no. If you see the film, you'll see why no. If you see the film, you'll see why yes. But it's the last one featuring Ed and Lorraine Warren. If you know the backstory in regards to the Warrens, pretty much everything they've done was debunked. Everything from the blueprint for The Exorcist to they were involved partly in regards to information about the Amityville horror, to this case, the Searle case. The film itself it feels like it's two films. Like it wants to explore the life of the Warrens from when they first came across their first demon, which was a malevolent demon inside of a mirror when Lorraine was pregnant and she gave birth to her child, to the Searle family, who is the ones who were suffering the hauntings because the mirror, dun dun dun, has made an appearance again. They've actually got
Right.
the mirror. And so the film itself concentrates more solely on the Warrens in the first hour and a bit. And then it decides to go, oh, we're a Conjuring film. We've got to go back to that family who's got the haunting. And it's so disjointed because of that. Like the horror in the film is just non existent. There's no scares in it whatsoever. The CGI is very dodgy. Like in the test screenings, people who saw the test screenings a couple of months ago complained about the CGI. It looks like they've not fixed it. And so when it concentrates on the Warrens, it's fine. It's like a drama, like centered around a family who does this very strange thing for a living. When it goes to the Searles, it feels like it is Ghost Watch, which supposedly the Warrens
Yeah.
were lightly involved in Ghost Watch as well. Uh, um, but again, that was debunked. And so the second film, The Conjuring 2, is actually based around Ghost Watch, which people in
It
the
was the
outside the
Enfield
UK,
haunting, wasn't it? I think that was the
exactly that.
second one,
Yes.
wasn't it? Yeah.
So the last rites just it doesn't know how to get the tone right. Just plods along very stoically. Even though there's a little bit of interest there, it thinks that we need to actually lecture ourselves more onto the Warrens and feel sorry for them, despite the fact that we're despicable human beings trying to get a lot of money off people's troubles and turmoils. And so it just doesn't get the tone right. It really doesn't. The last one, The Devil Made Me Do It, I didn't like.
I
I
hate it.
thought it
I didn't
was
finish it. I didn't finish that last one.
it's
I'm
such a
out.
boring it's such a boring film. This is slightly better. Michael Chavez was the director of The Devil Made Me Do It, and he directed this one. He also directed The Curse of La Llorona, which is not very good as well. It's a complete throwaway one. This one's better, but that's damning with faint praise considering that the third one was terrible. So I would stop watching them after the first two. In order of quality, it's one, two, four, three. But as I said, this has made absolutely gangbusters because every showing of it that I went to see was sold out. And you can see why people do want to see it. It was actually a very well behaved audience I went to see it in as well.
Even
And it
better.
shows you how lacking the scares are if it's a very well behaved audience. Because if there were scares were there, it would make people jump, scream, laugh, giggle, all that kind of
Put
stuff.
them on edge and whatnot. Knock them off
Exactly.
balance. Yeah.
It didn't exist in this. Like there was the cinema was quite quiet apart from rustling of packets and what have you. The screening of it was very quiet for a horror film. And that just says that there's something wrong with it if you're not getting that kind of slight noise. So yeah, it's a way to go out on a damp squib, unfortunately.
But hopefully it'll make money. I'm sure it will because it's a brand name and people say Conjuring. They don't tend to think of the third one. They think of the first one being really good, and they're like, "Oh, I like the Conjuring
Yes.
films," which is the way I think about it. But third one, I bailed. I'm like, done.
It's
Too
ironic
slow.
though, after they dropped the numbers, the films went downhill.
Yeah,
Like Conjuring 1 and 2, very good films. Conjuring The Devil Made Me Do It, terrible film.
not a
Last
good
Right,
film.
barely watchable. So it's if you've seen the previous ones, then you know you're going to go out and see it.
What's the next film you're going to watch then? As we sort of round up our chat a little bit, is there anything you're like, oh, I'm going to watch that today or tomorrow?
I don't know about today. I know I saw the trailer for Catherine Bigelow's new film, House of Dynamite, which drops
Oh,
on Netflix on October the 24th.
I haven't seen the
Um,
trailer, but the fact Catherine Bigelow's got a new film coming out, I'm very
what?
excited because she's a
Watch the
great director.
trailer.
I
What?
will. I'm
Watch
going to
the
watch it
trailer.
this
It's
afternoon.
yeah. It's about DEF CON, what it's like to actually go to DEF CON 1. And you know that kind of film is going to be in good hands. Netflix is going to have a big, huge, massive couple of weeks because around the same time, Frankenstein's out. It is getting a theatrical release, Frankenstein, for 1 week, and then it's shown on Netflix 2 weeks after. House of Dynamite is just, I think it's only getting a Netflix release, but a Catherine Bigelow and a Guillermo del Toro film released in the space of a few weeks. Yes, please.
Definitely.
Um,
Yeah.
and then obviously the new 28 Years Later trailer dropped, The Bone Temple. That's out in
I saw
January.
that. Looks good. I like 28 Years Later. A lot of people don't. I thought it was fine. I'm looking forward to the Bone Temple, and then it'll probably make a lot of 28 Years Later make a bit more sense once we see the second film, and then hopefully we do get the third one.
Yeah, well, 28 Years Later drops on Netflix at the end of the month because Netflix have got the streaming rights to it, so it drops on Netflix at the end of the month. So there's that. Neil Marshall's got a new film coming out in a couple of weeks' time
Hmm.
called Compulsion, which he
Yeah.
released. He finished it last year. However, it's only getting released in Poland.
Okay. It's kind of I don't know what's happened to Neil Marshall. You look
He's
at Dog Soldiers, The Descent, Doomsday, great films. Really enjoyed them, and then the past few have just been like, what happened? I
The
don't.
Lair. Oh, The Lair is terrible. I really didn't like The Lair. As a matter of fact, he's opened his own studio called Art of Action. Is releasing currently. There's two films on the slate. He's directing one, which is an action thriller, and somebody else who's opened the studio with him. They're directing the other one. But Compulsion, he finished it last year. It's about a lesbian couple who are on a beach in Australia, I think, and they get accosted by a couple of people and they need to try and survive. But I don't know when it's getting released in the UK. It's only got a Poland release date and it's out on the 19th in Poland.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a strange one.
So obviously somebody in Poland's just bought the distribution rights for Poland. It's like, yeah, hopefully there'll be
Probably.
deals in place for the US and the UK and
You
stuff like
think
that. So
you think with you opening your own studio, then release it under your own label.
you would think so. Yeah.
So there's that, and there are obviously films that are coming out. I'd probably over the next couple of days just go and pick and choose a couple of films. You've got they'll pop up. They'll pop up on the Amazon Prime, going, "You should watch this," and stupid me will go, "Oh, I'll watch that," and then
Yeah.
after I've finished it, going, "That was terrible."
Now that I'm on the mend a little bit more, I'm going to try and catch up on some of the big ones that have come out this year. But I'm not quite sure what yet. But I'm certainly not struggling for choice. So.
I would say watch that Hollow Road, considering that you do like films like Lock, Buried, movies like that, where they're just set in one location. Hollow Road is available digitally now, so it's easy to actually find. I definitely recommend watching Hollow Road.
Mm-hmm. Good, good. I shall do that. I know you've got Halloween to watch at the end of the month, so we'll be having a chat
Yes,
about that in the near future. Um,
yes,
good,
which I did
nice
like the
little.
trailer of it, and I'm still annoyed the fact that we have to wait until September the 29th to actually get the film, which is slightly
Yeah,
frustrating, but
that is because I'd asked about that. I'm like, because it's a British film. I'm like, why is it coming out in the UK at the end? And it's just because two separate companies own the distribution rights for those
yeah,
territories. But I still think it's unusual. It's just like, okay,
it's
it's I guess it is what it is, isn't it? It's down to these companies to say when your film comes out, which I didn't know. I figured a filmmaker would be able to go, "Can you put it out?" And then they're like, "No, this is their slot." And so it's a whole
exactly.
complicated, weird science that I don't fully understand, but I'm still
But
only learning.
we'll drum up attention for it because I know Shogun is definitely doing it on Facebook, and they've just obviously completed their attention for the American audiences and getting reviews coming through from Bloody Disgusting and places like that. Which I always check Bloody Disgusting's things every single week. I've been a fan of that website for years. Bloody Disgusting, love that website for horror stuff, and I know it was part of in their 5 films, horror
It
films that
was.
released. They do that every Friday, and it actually got the banner attention headline as well, which they don't do that with every single big. They do it normally with the big film of the week. You would have thought they would have done with The Conjuring, but to choose a small film, I would actually say that's a big, huge, massive win for Halloween. So well done to them. And then they might have themselves a tiny little break, a little breather, and then they've got to drum up the attention again for UK release on the 29th, and then the Blu-ray release in October.
Yeah, so it's like, but by the end of October, people will be like, enough with the clowns. but it's
Yeah.
like it's the way the marketed chips fall, I guess. But it
Yeah,
is
definitely.
interesting to see what Shogun Films are doing. It's lit my timelines up, so I'm sharing bits and pieces here, there, and everywhere. But it's nice, and it's the filmmakers and stuff that are helping out doing that, and it's great when they do that.
Yes.
They don't just make a film and go out and make millions. They're actually caring about it enough to go right. We're gonna flood the internet with lots of pictures and character posters and trailers and reviews, and so yeah, bring it on, more clowns.
Exactly that. Yep.
So what are you up to this afternoon then? Anything exciting
Um,
or not?
Probably play a little bit more of Hollow Knight, Silk Song. Get really frustrated about that. To scream at me cat. Me cat will look at us, going, "What the hell are you doing?" Cook some food. Might watch a film tonight. Don't know. Normally, I cut sort of like video games and films and stuff like that off at from 8 o'clock onwards.
Okay.
That's sort of like, because normally I'm at work the Monday after, but I'm not back at work until Wednesday. So touch wood, unless something my pain decides to rear its ugly head again, and I have to unfortunately go back on the sick. The fit. I hate calling it the sick. So I'll probably just try to film, because last week I went to see The Toxic Avenger in cinemas, and it started at 6:30, and that was on a Sunday. And I very rarely go to the cinema on a Sunday. But I did it last week. Definitely not doing it this week. So I might choose a brain dead kind of film, because I'm sort of like in the mood to watch something where I don't have to think. Considering I didn't mention it, but I watched a film today before this podcast, and it's on Netflix, and it's very similar to the Gunjam incident. The Gunjam incident is the thing that happened in Thailand about a haunted hospital killing people. It's very similar to that, but I just didn't think it was worthy to actually talk about it, because it wasn't a very good film anyway. So,
Yeah.
so I want something forgettable, and then just cook food.
I'm just gonna chill out. I've got my medical thing tomorrow. Get that out of the way. Yeah, I'm just gonna find some brain dead movies to watch and stuff. So,
It's exactly what we need.
it has been nice seeing people in the chat, so thank you to everybody
Definitely.
who was in the chat, still in the chat. So obviously it's not easy to type and read and stuff, but obviously we tried to acknowledge you where we could
And
see your question and stuff.
Anybody who was actually watching it live, because obviously we get a little counter at the top of the screen, and I was seeing that going up into the 50s and 60s, and it was nice to actually see that, because I'm one of those people who watch Twitch streams and don't comment. So I'm a backseater. I just sit there in the background and just watch it. But it just obviously gives that person the viewing figures, and I steer with that stream. So it's just nice to actually see people just even just watching it.
So this might be a way forward. I felt that the technology was fine. It was nice seeing people in the chat. It was nice seeing the numbers go up, and you're like, you know what, it's kind of easy to do. So maybe this is enough for us to do what we do.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll fix my bloody camera for next time.
Considering I'll try and fix mine as well, so we can do it the other way and see how that
my
works.
tablet, instead of it was like that at the start of the recording. Now it's very similar to like pretty much going flat. Considering the stand that I've got it on has just decided to disintegrate on us, so I'll just use my phone the next time.
Same. But yep, you enjoy your afternoon, Stu. Good luck with the rest of the week, and I will catch up with you soon.
Ditto.
Right. Take care.
Bye bye.